I'm about to walk you through a content strategy to help you get more quality inbound leads every single day. If you have a smaller audience, maybe it's an extra 2 to 3 inbound leads coming in. If you have a bigger audience, like 10,000 people, 20,000 people or more, maybe you get an extra 10, 15, 20 quality inbound leads coming in. Like, what would that do for your business if you can make that happen? And we're not talking about tire kickers here. We're not talking about running ads. We're not talking about doing these aggressive DM strategies. The only way that I know how to get more quality inbound leads coming in is through the strategy that I'm about to walk you through here in just a second. Now, gone are the days when you could just post on social media, do a 2-step post or a call to action driven piece of content and expect to just fill up your calendar with calls or your roster with clients. And the reason is the market's more sophisticated now. People are smarter. They're on to what a lot of these marketers and businesses have pretty much obliterated over the last couple of years, right? In 2020, I remember posting what they would call 2-step posts, pretty much call to action driven posts on Facebook. And you would be able to DM those people. You would give them like a lead magnet or a video or something like that. You would have a conversation with them, and then you would book a percentage of those people on calls, and then you would close a percentage of those people into becoming clients. And while that can still work, it just takes a lot of volume, right? We're seeing on average from people that are coming into our world, they might be getting 100 comments on a post per se, but they're only closing maybe one client. And there's just a lot of inconsistency around being able to book calls, around actually getting quality inbound leads. Like, we've got clients that come to us and they're getting tons of inbound leads, but a lot of them are just not quality. And the reason is it's coming from like short form content, like reels and perhaps even ads. And because of that, the quality just tends to be lower. And so if you don't want to play this volume game of having to sift through hundreds and hundreds of leads to be able to find quality clients, and you want to be able to attract more dream clients to you, like, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that, at least how I've done it and how I show people how to do it. So let's first break down, I want you to understand this concept here, this principle, so you can really apply what I'm about to share with you. But information is a commodity, right? Like, as I just mentioned, gone are the days when you could just post. But even beyond that, if you think about it, there's over, I want to say the statistic was I could be a little off here, but I'm in the ballpark, 605 million posts being published every minute on the internet. It's insane, right? It's freaking crazy. And so your audience is bombarded with TikToks and IG Reels and podcasts and YouTube videos and posts on Facebook. They're just bombarded with this information. And so if you want to really be able to grab your audience by the throat, I know that's a pretty gnarly metaphor there, but pull them in and probably grab them by their eyeballs is a better one. Grab them by their eyeballs and be able to pull them in. You got to have a couple things in place, right? Number one is you have to be able to have your messaging dialed in, meaning you have to be able to say the right words in the right way to the right people, right? Because if you don't, you're going to constantly be saying the wrong words in the wrong way, and then the wrong people are going to engage with you. So if you want the right people to engage with you, you got to say what your dream clients are wanting to hear. You got to match your message to the market. And I just did a video on our magic messaging framework, so you could feel free to check that out on the channel. But nonetheless, you could say the wrong thing a million times and you're not going to be able to convert people. But if you say the right thing one time, it's going to be a lot more, let's just say, effortless to be able to get clients. And so once you have the right words and you know how to communicate your message to the market in a way that they actually want to engage with you, the right people, they actually want to figure out more what you have. They are saying to themselves in their head, this person feels like they could be the coach for me, right? Then you plug those words into a strategic content system. And that's what we're going to outline for the rest of this video. And so here is the way that has worked for me over the last, let's say, probably about a year. We've been really dialing this in. You want to have a top of funnel platform. This should be your main social channel. For me, it's been Facebook. For some, it's Instagram. Some people prefer LinkedIn. It really doesn't matter. You want to go to where it's easy for you to be consistent with, and it's easy, or I should say it's where your clients are hanging out and you don't mind being on, right? And so technically I kind of hate Facebook. I'll just be real, but Facebook works really well, especially organically. And so for me, my main social channel is Facebook. Then you want to be able to pair that, and I'm going to break this down a little bit more in detail. You want to pair that with email. So email has been this amazing middle of funnel tool for us that we've used for a very long time, for years, in fact, but we're seeing more success with it now than we ever have before. And I'll walk you through why I think that is in just a second. And then you want to pair it with a long form platform. I was doing podcasts pretty consistently for like 3 years, and YouTube is kind of secondary for me. But recently, I would say over the last like year or so, we switched to making YouTube more of our like long form platform. And then we repurpose our YouTube videos most times on our podcast. And the reason why YouTube is a really good choice, because it's a really good middle of funnel platform. Like, I am not creating videos right now to try to go viral on YouTube. Like, I'm not trying to like necessarily like blow up my channel and, you know, gain millions and millions of subscribers right now. I am really trying to create very direct content to be able to help my dream clients. That's quite frankly it. And so my YouTube videos, we promote these on our Facebook. So whenever we come up with new videos, we'll promote them in our Facebook and Instagram stories. We'll post them on my Facebook feed, like a kind of a promotional post, if you will, to drive people to come watch these videos. And then we promote these videos in email. And so we drive our top of funnel, which for us, it's Facebook, and we drive our middle of funnel, our email list, to the long form platform, YouTube. And the reason this works so well, and this is at least my psychology behind this, or at least is my reasoning behind the psychology of this, I should say, is that it's not about the amount of time somebody's in your funnel, and I will use quotes for funnel here. It's about the amount of content they consume. And so let's say you get somebody to become your friend on Facebook, or they become an Instagram follower. We'll use both of those as examples. And it's on Facebook or Instagram, there's not much opportunity to create really good long form content. I mean, sure, maybe you could do like a live training, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But most of the content on these platforms are going to be shorter form or medium form. Even if you have a long caption post, that's going to take the average reader like, 60 to 90 seconds to read it. I mean, heck, at the very least, like on Facebook, you could probably create like a 3-minute long post, but nonetheless, they're very short or medium form pieces of content. And it takes a lot of those pieces of content to really get people to trust you enough to want to take a next step with you. And so that's the reasoning for the long form platform, is you want to be able to drive your top of funnel people. You want to be able to drive your audience to these long form pieces just like this, to where I can now unpack, I can give you tremendous value in this video, hopefully. And it now nurtures you. And nurture just means to encourage and build the relationship, right? Encourage growth and build a relationship. At least that's how I define it. And so my job here is to encourage your growth by giving you hopefully practical strategies and insights and epiphanies and ahas, and to build a relationship with you. That is simply it. That's the exact intention of creating these videos. And so that's what you want to use this platform for. And YouTube is really, really good because it's very low barrier. Like, I have a really fancy camera. I have a nice setup. I've got lights in there. I've got a really good podcast microphone. But I'm out here right now just to prove a point. And I just did this last video that I'm doing this on my iPhone in cinematic mode, holding it sideways, right? I'm proving this because you don't need to have a fancy setup. You don't need to have all of this stuff, right? Sure, I have an amazing editor, but you don't even need that at the start. You could just upload your videos, right? So it's so low barrier to entrance to be able to provide really good content on a consistent basis. Now, we're going to go into cadence here in just a second, but that's that. And then, so let's briefly unpack each of these: the top of funnel, the email, and we just kind of did the YouTube. And then I'll go into like content cadence on how many times that at least I recommend you post, or I post, for each of these platforms. And then really the way that you convert and that you get more inbound leads coming in. And so firstly, with your top of funnel, it's really used for building initial trust and connection with people. It's where you drive traffic from, right? Maybe you're friend requesting, or you're doing joint ventures with people on Facebook, and so you're building your network on Facebook, right? Maybe you're doing podcast guesting, so you're building your network and you send them to that top of funnel. You see what I'm saying? Maybe you're running ads or something like that. But you have that top of funnel where you can initially connect with people, you can build that trust with them, and you could start to shift their perspectives into your world, into what you believe. Okay. And then the email is really, really good, because with Facebook or Instagram, you don't own that list. Like you don't own it. You could be friends with people, you can have followers, but you don't own it. It's a borrowed list from Mark Zuckerberg and his army. But with email, you own the list. It's your list. And unless you do something royally stupid, you can't really lose that list. You can lose the list if you do something really stupid, like, I don't know, being a spammer or something like that. But it's really challenging to lose an email list. For the most part, you own it. So it's really good. And so with email, we noticed most of our sales come from email. And when I have clients that haven't really been consistent with email or never done email, and we help them hook up our email system, because I have a very specific way of doing it. On most times, on average, they will double the amount of sales they make, or at least double the amount of calls that they book. So it's a really good tool. And it's a great way to get your audience to consistently see your stuff, because you're the one in charge of that. You just have to come up with good subject lines so that they open, and you have to have good content and good copywriting, good messaging, right? So that they want to actually like read and move through your steps. But you don't have to rely on the algorithm gods to like give you the engagement, right? You're more in control of that. So that's email. And we talked about YouTube. It's a really, really awesome tool. And we have a whole YouTube strategy to where like how to strategically post links underneath. And it allows you to be able to build your email list up. It allows you to be able to like, further move people into your world. So that way you can, again, nurture, encourage growth, and build a relationship with more and more people. And so just that strategy alone, those 3 things that I just walked you through, that is how you will get more inbound leads. I've got people all of the time that will become my friend on Facebook, and they might comment on something. We might get into a short messenger conversation. Then they head over, I send them a video to my YouTube. They'll go over to my YouTube channel. They'll watch a few videos. They'll find a lot of value. They'll resonate in what I'm talking about. They'll opt into like a lead magnet of mine. They'll get onto my email list. And then within usually a week or 2, sometimes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they become a client, or they buy a workshop, which we'll get into here at the second. This will be the last piece we'll go into. But just that alone will get you more inbound leads because of the kind of a system here, right? And I like to think about this like the Bermuda Triangle, right? I'm here in Florida. If you can't tell, maybe I'm here in Florida. And in Florida, you've got like Florida, you got Bermuda, and you got Puerto Rico. And in the middle there's the Bermuda Triangle. And there's been legends of like ships and all kinds of things being lost at sea there. People get kind of sucked into it and they never come out. Well, these 3 things are kind of like the Bermuda Triangle, but of your content. So when you have the, your top of funnel, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, you have your email, and then you have your YouTube. It's kind of the Bermuda Triangle. You get people bought into an ecosystem, and they get sucked in and they get lost into your world. And when they're in your world, they're more likely to become a client, because they're in your ecosystem and in your world, where most of your competitors are fighting for their attention, which is the most valuable currency on the planet right now. They're fighting for their attention with like these short form reels and these like all this stuff. You're smarter, right? Because you've got this ecosystem built. So lastly, what we'll go into is like the cadence. And so what I recommend is on Facebook or Instagram, you can do 2 things. This is the way I teach it, at least. This is probably a whole nother video for a whole nother day. And I have done videos on this. Maybe I'll do an updated one. But you want to do 2 things. You have what I call content patterns and content campaigns. Content patterns are where you want to stay diverse between the 4 different types of content. Connection content, where you're posting like more day in the life of you, maybe what you stand for, what you stand against, maybe bits of your lifestyle, right? Showcasing like I'm swimming in the pool with my kids, or, whatever, right? Like things that connect you with other people, that show that you're a human. Then there's influence content. This is content that I call mob content, to help you remember. It's where you are addressing mistakes, and you're really discrediting mistakes. you're dismantling objections, that's the O, and you are pulling apart false beliefs, right? You're shifting people's beliefs into what you want them to believe. This is influence content. And then you have authority content. Authority content is where you're sharing social proof to give your audience hope so they know that you know what you're doing, and where you're just demonstrating your authority by sharing maybe your unique mechanisms or the way that you help people get certain results. And then you have conversion content. This is very specific content that's designed for conversions. Pretty simple. It's usually going to be very call to action driven, really good hooks and headlines and all of that jazz to be able to move people into some kind of conversion event. In those conversion events, we call it T-shaped workshops. So when you're running conversion content, and this moves us into content campaigns, you want to have a very specific campaign where you'll have maybe 2, 3, 4, and at times 5 or even 6 different posts or pieces of content where you're driving your audience to some kind of workshop, masterclass, or training. These trainings can be held straight on Facebook. These trainings can be held, we do them on Zoom typically. But these are very strategic trainings to where you're going deep with your audience. They're not like the classic webinars where it's like a big pitch fest. They're true workshops or masterclasses or trainings where you're giving tons of value, and then you give people the next step. Now, I got a mosquito that just bit me down here. Anyhow, now when you're newer in business, we usually tell people to do these for free, just to kind of get like get some momentum built. But after you've been in business for a little bit, you've given a lot to your audience and a lot of value, that is, then we typically recommend people charge for them, right? Whether it's $7, $47, $97, $197. And the reason is this: it's like, if you're giving tons of free information away already on the internet, you're doing YouTube video, you're just posting all this stuff, like you're giving away plenty of free value. And free attracts free a lot of times. And so you want to give people in your audience a step to become a customer of yours, especially if you're selling high ticket. Like I found that there is a nice step between free and high ticket, and it's becoming a customer, and it's allowing people to pay you some money to get a result from you, right? So we usually charge like $100 for our workshops, and it allows people to come on to our workshop. They get to see my coaching style. I get to help give them a result if they implement the stuff in the workshop, and they get a taste of coaching from me. And hopefully they get a result, more leads, more clarity, more clients, more something, right? And so taking that approach. And so that's the content campaigns, right? Very strategic pieces of content with call to actions that drive people to a live training, a workshop, a masterclass, and you could do them free or paid. So that's the cadence, right? When you're not doing a campaign, I typically just recommend cycling between the different types of content: connection, influence, authority, and conversion, just to kind of keep a good diversity there. But the campaigns will help keep leads and clients coming in predictably, right? And I think I covered everything, right? So we have what we'll call the Bermuda Triangle of content, right? So you got your top of funnel like Facebook or Instagram. You pair it with your email, and you pair it with a long form platform like podcast or YouTube. I recommend for most people just do YouTube. It's way easier. And then when you're doing your cadence, you want to use all 4 different types of content, right? To stay diverse with them. And then I would say like once to twice a month, you could do this bi-weekly. You run content campaigns so that you can consistently and predictably fill up workshops and masterclasses. And heck, you can even run straight up promotions sometimes to your offer. So you can consistently fill up your offer. And then we typically convert. This is the last piece that I'll share here. We typically convert on the workshops or on the trainings. We just give people a very soft call to action. Just give them a next step. We're just like, hey, if you found value in this and you want to work, closer with me inside of my program, here's what you do. And we tell people you could do we usually give people either a 7-day trial, so they can like try before they buy, test drive, right? We put our money where our mouth is. Or, you can just book a call with somebody. You can say, hey, book this XYZ call. If you're in fitness, you could be like, bring my sexy back call or something like that, but usually we get a lot more call bookings if we do it that way. And then, yeah. So I could probably do a whole video on each one of these things, but that's the key. That's the triad, or that's the content strategy. So hopefully you found this really, really helpful. And if you did, make sure to click subscribe and leave your comment. Let me know what your biggest insight was, your biggest takeaway was. And if there's any questions, anything that maybe I opened a loop and I didn't cover in this video, just let me know down in the comments below. All right. As always, remember, your message matters. Don't be afraid to speak it. As always, be seen, be heard, and be impactful.